All right, let's just jump right in. Picture this. We're standing on the steps of the Roman barracks in Jerusalem. The Apostle Paul, he's just given this incredible speech, his life story, in Aramaic. And the crowd, this angry mob, is hanging on his every word. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. But that's all about to change. This whole fragile piece, it's about to absolutely shatter.
And boom, just like that. 1 second, dead silent. The next, a full-on murderous roar. They're screaming, "Rid the earth of him!" You've got to understand, this isn't just a bit of heckling. This is a demand for execution. So, the big question is, what in the world did Paul just say to flip that switch, to turn a listening crowd into a lynch mob in the blink of an eye?
I mean, think about it. The crowd was totally with him for the whole story. His devout Jewish upbringing? Check. His time persecuting Christians? Yep, they were listening. Even the crazy story about the vision on the road to Damascus, they were still on board. They followed him right up until he got to one specific, unforgivable detail about his mission.
And this was it. This was the trigger, the one line they just could not stomach. Paul tells them what Jesus said to him, "Go, I'm sending you far away to the Gentiles." And the second that word, Gentiles, hits the air, it was like throwing a lit match into a puddle of gasoline, just an explosion.
So what's really going on here? Why so much rage? Well, for this crowd, the idea of sending God's message to non-Jews, to the Gentiles, that wasn't just some nice, inclusive idea. Oh no, it was a deep, profound betrayal. It felt like a direct attack on their special heritage, their unique covenant with God. It was sacrilege. And in their eyes, there was only one punishment for that: death.
And you can see how they show it. This isn't just random rioting. They start throwing off their cloaks. That was a sign they were getting ready for a fight. Specifically, getting ready to stone someone. And throwing dust in the air? That was a very dramatic, very symbolic way of showing total condemnation. They were, in no uncertain terms, demanding his life, right then and there.
Okay, now put yourself in the Roman commander's shoes for a second. He doesn't speak Aramaic, so he has no idea what Paul just said. All he sees is a perfectly calm situation suddenly erupt into total chaos. So what does he think? He thinks, this guy must have done something really bad. And he goes straight to the standard Roman playbook for getting answers.
Which is, of course, violence. He orders his men to drag Paul into the barracks to be interrogated by flogging. The logic was, well, it was simple, and it was brutal. Torture him until he confesses what he did to make everyone so mad. This wasn't a conversation. This was interrogation by pure, agonizing pain. And we need to be crystal clear about what flogging meant here. This isn't just some simple whipping. We're talking about the Roman mastigo, a truly horrific whip. It was often embedded with sharp bits of bone or metal. The whole point was to literally shred a person's back. A lot of people didn't survive this. So let that sink in. Paul is literally seconds away from being tortured, possibly to death. So the scene is set, they've stretched him out, the soldiers are ready to go, the whip is probably already in someone's hand, and right here, at the absolute last second, with everything hanging in the balance, Paul does something incredible. He doesn't scream, he doesn't beg. He makes a calm, calculated, and frankly brilliant move. He strategizes.
He just turns to the centurion overseeing the whole thing and asks this simple but absolutely devastating question. And notice the wording here. It's not, "Please, have mercy." It's a legal challenge. It's an assertion of his rights. In that moment, he's deploying a shield far more powerful than any mob or any Roman whip. He's deploying his Roman citizenship.
And that one question just stops everything, cold. See, being a Roman citizen wasn't just a fancy title. It was like having a legal fortress around you. There were actual laws, the Lex Valeria, the Lex Portia, that made it a massive crime for any Roman official to flog a citizen without a proper trial. Not just flog, even binding them was illegal. So with one simple sentence, Paul just put every single soldier in that room in serious legal jeopardy.
So the commander, you can bet he's nervous now. He rushes over and asks Paul, "Wait, are you really a citizen?" And he kind of tries to puff out his chest a bit, saying, I had to pay a lot of money for my citizenship. But Paul's comeback is just perfect. He says, "Yeah, but I was born one." That little comment totally changes the dynamic. It basically says, my status is more legit than yours, which only makes the commander's mistake even bigger.
And the effect? It's immediate. The entire power dynamic in that room does a complete 180. The guy who was about to be tortured is now, suddenly, the one holding all the cards. And the man who ordered the torture? He's absolutely terrified.
You can just imagine the panic. The centurion hears Paul, his eyes go wide, and he sprints to the commander. The commander gets the news, and he just knows his blood ran cold. He realizes he was just seconds away from committing a crime that could end his career, maybe even his life. It's a powerful moment, right? It shows that in the end, Roman law was way more powerful than any angry mob.
And here's the kicker. The commander wasn't just scared of what he was about to do. He was scared of what he had already done. See, just putting a Roman citizen in chains without a trial was a big no-no, a serious violation. So he was already in hot water, and he knew it. The whole interrogation? Yeah, that was over before it even started.
But this moment, this incredible turnaround, it does way more than just save Paul's skin. It completely transforms the entire situation. What was supposed to be the end of the line for him, a moment of silencing and defeat, instead becomes this amazing, divinely orchestrated opportunity.
Now the commander's in a tough spot, right? He can't flog Paul, but he also can't just let him go because he's already arrested him. He needs a legal reason for the arrest to cover his own back. So, what's his move? The very next day, he sets up a formal hearing for Paul, right in front of the Sanhedrin, the highest Jewish court. He's desperate to figure out what the actual charges are against this guy.
And this is just the beautiful irony of the whole thing. The arrest, the very thing that was supposed to shut Paul up for good, becomes the exact tool God uses to give him an even bigger stage. Now he's not just talking to a crowd on the street. He's about to testify before the most powerful religious leaders in the entire nation.
So when you zoom out and look at the big picture, you see this whole thing for what it is, a divine safeguard. It's God using a totally secular, legal status, Paul's citizenship, to protect his messenger. A moment that was pure peril gets masterfully flipped into a providential opportunity. And the Great Commission? It doesn't just survive, it gets amplified, thanks to the very authorities who are trying to crush it.
So, okay, that's a great story from ancient Jerusalem. But why does it matter to you and me right now? Well, because the principles behind Paul's strategic shield are totally timeless. They offer some really powerful lessons for how we can navigate the challenges and opposition we face in our own lives.
I mean, Paul basically gives us a playbook here. First, timing is everything. He knew the exact moment to play his card. Second, he knew his rights, and he asserted them calmly, no screaming, no panic. Third, he leveraged the status he had not for himself but for the sake of the mission. And finally, he trusted that God could turn even the worst situations, like a hostile arrest, into a brand new door.
And that really brings it all home with a final crucial question for you. Think about it. You might not have Roman citizenship, but what citizenship do you have? What status, what skill, what platform has God given you? And the real question is, how might you be called to use that, wisely and courageously, as a divine safeguard for his mission in the world today?